Hey, it's Shawn from 1065 Element FM. Today's Indigenous Beat. Gotland is a stand-up comedy show featuring some of the best First Nations, Inuit, and Métis comedians working today. If you're in the Toronto area, you'll be able to catch Gotland at the Danforth Comedy Festival on August 9th. And I am stoked to be joined by the heart and soul of Gotland, creator, producer, and performer Janelle Niles. Janelle, thank you so much for joining me today.
Ninda Luisi, Janelle Niles, Wadabaxi Sabaganagri. I am so happy to be here. Yes, my name is Janelle Niles, and I am from Sabaganagri, and I am a Black Mi'kmaq, two-spirited comedian waiting to make you laugh all ugly.
Now, I feel like everybody knows about Gotland, but for those few who might not be familiar with Gotland yet, how would you describe it and what can people expect when they buy a ticket to a Gotland show?
Well, I just hope that they're fans of comedy first, because that's what we are. We're stand-up comedians. So, what to expect? You're going to expect stuff you've never heard before. You're going to hear some different, you're going to hear groans, you're going to hear laughter, and you're also going to hear some tough topics that people are reluctant to talk about. So, Gotland, Indigenous comedy show, I say our mandate is to express solidarity through humor, and that's what we do. Gotland, we start a conversation.
In your opinion, what makes comedy in particular such a powerful tool for solidarity and reconciliation and addressing these tough issues?
I think it's because we heal through humor. That's something in all Indigenous across the board in Turtle Island. Comedy or humor is our eighth sacred teaching, if you will. If we can learn to laugh at something and call attention to it, it almost takes away its power over us. So that's what we do with our comedy. And by all means, some of us just tell jokes.
I think that's a really beautiful sentiment, and it's a great way to address topics that some people might find to be a little more uncomfortable, and the fact that they do get to have a little laugh along with that. I think that's very powerful and very beautiful. Uh,
Oh, thank you.
Gotland is going to be at the Dawn on Danforth on August 9th as part of the Danforth Comedy Festival. What's one thing you always need to try and do when you're in Toronto?
Learn how to say Danforth. I was not calling it Danforth. I was calling it Dawnforth. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question again? I was
Yeah, no
thinking of a
worries.
joke.
First of all, on that note, I find that's a very big thing with Toronto. So I was in Toronto for a whole year, and you want to call like we were over by Chorus Key, and you always want to call it Chorus Quay. Uh, Spadina, Spadina. I mean, there's so many ones like that where they're very easy traps to fall into, and they're like, "You're not from here." It's like, yeah, I know, but you can say it both ways.
It's Toronto, not Toronto.
That was the first thing actually my station manager at the time taught me was you don't pronounce that second T. That's more of a silent T. So
Yes.
uh but yeah, Gotland is going to be at the Dawn on Danforth on August 9th as part of the Danforth Comedy Festival. What's one thing you always need to try and do when you're in Toronto?
When I'm in Toronto, I try to always go to the comedy bar that is there's two comedy bars. There's one in the east and one in the west. I always try to go to comedy bar because that is where all the comedians across Canada kind of like congregate when they're in town. And I'm always trying to meet that one comedian and learn something from them. So my biggest thing is to congregate with my peers.
Follow-up question on that. Who's the one comedian you've met at the comedy bar who you feel like you've learned the most from?
Oh, goodness. The one comedian I learned at the comedy bar, I've learned the most from, would be Ali Hassan. I love Ali. I met him at the comedy bar, and he was so humble and so kind and very patient with me. So, and I believe he does CBC Radio LOL, and I hope I work with him in the future. He just knows the comedy circuit so well, and being also somebody who's a person of color, I always like to hear what they have to say, and they in that way they indirectly mentor me.
Gotland's first show was at Eddie's Diner in Ottawa on September 10th, 2019. I did the math on that, and that means we're almost at the fifth anniversary of Gotland to the day. We're about a month and change ahead of that. Considering how much you and everyone else on the team has accomplished since then, where do you see Gotland in another 5 years?
Hola. Oh, yeah, it has been almost 5 years. I think Gotland Indigenous Comedy Show in 5 years is going to have their own Netflix comedy collaboration of all in Gotland comedians. Like we have 34, 35 comedians on our roster today. I think 36 by tomorrow. And I hope that every single one of those comedians has a spot in the spotlight in 5 years' time on national television or on Netflix or whatever program.
That's fantastic. Let's put that out into the world. Let's make that
Yes,
happen.
it's manifested. I want to hear it on the wind.
Now, just another follow-up on that. Not too long after September 2019, some major world events happened, and comedy clubs weren't open for a little while. What type of challenges did Gotland face early on because of the global pandemic and maybe other factors outside of that as well?
Well, Gotland Indigenous Comedy Show, we started September 10th of 2019, and I was trying to book as many shows as I possibly could across Canada, and the pandemic just put a stop on that completely. And at this time, it wasn't a fully fledged business that I have today, but I knew we needed to keep going because this wasn't going to stop. Nothing was going to stop us, not a pandemic, not an angry white man, nothing. We're going to keep on going. So I looked on pattern recognition. I looked at what the other comedians were doing during the pandemic, and boom, we went to Zoom, baby. We did Zoom shows, and actually, it was a lot more accessible for, let's say, a remote community to have a Gotland Indigenous comedy show via Zoom. So you didn't have to fly out all us comedians up there, but they still were able to laugh and have something to look forward to with our specific entertainment.
Did you find audience interaction to be something that was like you had to adapt to doing shows on Zoom, or was it kind of a natural evolution?
Zoom shows are cringy. They are the worst in the sense, not the audience, not the show in general, just the feeling. We had to learn how to monologue. We had to learn to keep going without that feedback because comedians, we need that feedback. So, what we would ask people on Zoom, put a reaction, keep your mic on, laugh all ugly, anything, give us something back. But a lot of people, they're shy or they have like kids or pets or a loud background, so they would have it mute, just anything to help. So, but what we did was we learned a new muscle in comedy, and that is to play through the silence. And that actually helped a lot of us who couldn't do comedy live learn a different skill for when we went back out into the real world.
That's fantastic. Last but not least, Janelle, I know you're super busy, not just with Gotland, but your own personal projects as well. Where can people find you and keep up with everything that you have going on?
Well, I am one of those chronically online gays you hear about all the time. So you can find me everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and you can find me and all my accolades on www.gotlandcomedy.com under comedians, under Janelle Niles, and everything you need to know about me should be there, unless you ask my twin sister. She knows a little bit more.
Everybody, do yourself a favor. Go follow Janelle on every single platform you can because it is just going to make your day better. Just like going to see Gotland is going to make your day better. Janelle, thank you so much for hanging out with me this afternoon. You can catch Janelle and Gotland at the Dawn on Danforth on August 9th as part of the Danforth Comedy Festival in Toronto. To see the full lineup and grab tickets, you can head to comedynuggets.com, or to see where else Gotland might pop up across Turtle Island, you can head over to gotlandcomedy.com.